So Green Day, a punk band. Now punk generally, you don't need good musicianship. You don't even need good singing. You don't have to be really good at anything. The entire purpose is basically to have lyrics that bash government and the way the world kind of is, basically, and to have playing which basically is very simplistic but harsh and kind of aggressive, to basically kind of incorporate kind of shouting anger. Because the whole point of punk is to basically be very angry at politics and the government. And that is basically all punk really is. Basically just yelling about the system, the flaws of it, how government is flawed and bad and corrupted. And that is it. That is basically what punk always is. If they don't do that, then you can easily argue that it's just not punk. They do everything, but they're not bashing politics and government. You can just say, no, that's not it. So, in Sex Pistols, the singer was awful. The Ramones, the singer was dreadfully bad. Sex Pistols, the bass player couldn't even play, so they just turned his amp down. So that person, there was no point of him. So that's basically punk. So Green Day, which is also said to be punk, and it is. They do have songs where they bash society, government, and things like that, as well as other subjects. Now, when they started, they kind of sounded punk. It was basically just a sound, and they did some hits in their catalogue. So when it got to the album Dookie, you had songs like Basket Case, which sounded sort of different compared to the other punk bands. It didn't have that very old school sound, even though it came out years ago. It kind of sounded modern to, even if it came out today, it would be like any kind of indie band type of song. It was, the studio quality of it was damn good. And when you listen to the rest of the album, there's some tracks that don't even sound as good a quality. It's quite weird. It just sounds like that came from the future, that song Basket Case. The vocals were great. The production was awesome. Everything sounded extremely tight. And it was a very fun and upbeat song. So the playing, although not doing much, really sounded great and worked with the song and was catchy. The singer was amazing. The quality was brilliant, and a lot of punk bands they don't really get a lot of fame, so the quality is pretty poor. The quality of this was really, really good. And after Dookie, they had Insomniac or something like that, and then there was Nimrod, there was Warning. And from album to album, their sound was always kind of different. Like, Nimrod does not sound like Dookie. And Insomniac, if that is the album name, I'm not sure, doesn't sound anything like Warning. And basically, none of them sound the same. They're all very different sounds, yet they're all playing just chords. There's no different types of styles being played on the guitar and drums and everything. It's all the exact same thing. The guitars pretty much are all pretty much the same. He's not really massively diverse in the pickups and things, and the strings and the woods and everything. I'm not even sure Billy Joe really knows that much about guitars to actually know what the differences are. So, but yeah, they always have a different sound and a different style. And that's something even metal bands today, a lot of them can't do that. And metal acts can do all the shred and bends and whammies and a bazillion things that punk bands can't do, yet they sound all exactly the same, song by song, album by album, band to band. And then there's Green Day, a punk band where all they have in their capabilities is chords. And album to album, they are sounding vastly different. Not very vast compared to the likes of Maiden or Avenged Sevenfold, but it is different. So when Green Day knuckled down and decided, let's do something that is going to be big and is going to be famous. Big words to say, but they actually did it. They should basically have that frame of mind every single time, because then they would be really big. Because when American Idiot came out, it took the world by absolute storm. And there was a lot coming off of American Idiot. Now, American Idiot, was it a great album at the time? Was it just a fun album that came out in the right time and was lucky? Or was it something extremely special, extremely unique, extremely gifted and talented, and showed great musicianship and what the future could hold for music as a whole? Is Green Day the band that could actually show all the others how it's done? Again, none of them are very good at their instruments. Yet the ones who know a lot on their instruments, Green Day can give them pointers and tell them how to do it. And can mop the floor with them, basically by being musically better while not being able to play hardly anything that they can. Kind of weird, but the thing is, American Idiot is a masterpiece of an album. It is going to be down in history along with Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. The Black Album by Metallica, Rust in Peace by Megadeth. Every staple album of our past, American Idiot is going to be one of them, and it'll be remembered for a long time and probably never even forgotten. It was unbelievable, that album. Now, a lot of people who probably are a fan of Green Day probably just thought it was rather good, but not actually know why it was so good and so much better than what they previously did. And there are many reasons for this. And this is the many reasons why it's better than a whole lot of metal acts. I like metal, yet American Idiot is way more diverse and fun to listen to than a lot of metal bands. American Idiot is a concept album. Now, pop bands don't have concept albums. Indie bands do not have concept albums. Punk bands do not have concept albums. People who do concept are mostly progressive bands, or just basically metal in general. Because you need to know what you're doing to tie each song together to tell a musical story. But Green Day did it. And it wasn't all exactly the same. Each song was different and its own thing and unique. It's very hard to lyrically have each song go from one to the other to the other to the other and all connect and all be cohesive and make sense and tell a very engaging story. And then to musically go from one part of the story to a next part, but have it sound completely different, yet it's still lyrically going on the same journey. So, punk, they could just come up with the lyrics and then change sound by sound by sound. But Green Day took it even further than that by extending the length of their songs. Jesus Suburbia is 9 minutes 4 seconds or something like that, and Homecoming is up in the 9 minutes. Metal acts these days are around the 3 and 4 minutes. Putting in all the fancy stuff, yet at about 3 minutes they have no idea what to do. They don't know how to change the sound. They don't know how to evolve it. They don't know how to go any further with the song, so they just end it abruptly. Green Day on American Idiot, it's not a fail. It works, and it works a lot better than some bands that are actually doing this progression, who are known for doing it. And Jesus Suburbia and Homecoming do it a lot better. Jesus Suburbia being 9 minutes, 4 seconds, and having chapters. So it starts with like the Jesus Suburbia, the first title, which is centered around a kind of story arc and sound. Then it goes to chapter 2, which is still the same story, still the same song, but the whole sound is something new, and the lyrical theme has changed to something new. And then it goes to chapter 3 and then chapter 4. I think there's 4 chapters in it, not 100% on that. And each chapter is so different to the previous, and the singing style is so different, and it's the same even in Homecoming. Homecoming, like the intro, where there's not really much there, it's just Billy Joe with an effect on his voice and weird effect on guitar, but then there's nothing else there. Then it builds into the actual song. And then it races in another chapter, and then another chapter sung by Trey Cool, I think, the drummer. And it's so diverse. So each song is telling a story. I'm not 100% what the story is. I didn't know, but it was a long time ago. But it's basically a kid who lives in America, and he is known as a pretty good kid in his area. So he has a lot of friends and things, and they all look up to him. He has a girlfriend who absolutely adores him, and he has a mother who absolutely kind of hates him. So he's just the American idiot. He's just a kid who just does stupid things and everything. He's like just the typical guy who people admire. And then Jesus Suburbia, for being a really lengthy song, is basically he goes out and he has fun with his friends and everything, and comes home and his mum is kind of against him and says he's a loser and everything, won't amount up to anything. And then he goes out and then he basically finds life to be repetitive. Like, his girlfriend says he's all this and all that, but he doesn't really believe it. And then his mum is kind of right about it, but he hates hearing it. And then all the friends and everything like him, but it feels kind of artificial or something. So he's not happy. He's kind of depressed. So as the song progresses, he just realises that I'm the Jesus of Suburbia. So in Suburbia, I am basically a god, and I'm great. But it's not enough. It's boring now. I don't really know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with life. It's miserable. I'm bored. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. So he tells his girlfriend he never really loved her. She was just there for fun, and he leaves. And the next song, Holiday, basically enjoying himself on the open road and everything, having fun on his trip. Boulevard of Broken Dreams, kind of breaks down, and he's just completely alone. And I could be wrong about a lot of this. It's basically me just trying to remember and thinking up some lyrics and the name of the song titles, trying to come up with what I believe the story kind of is. But he comes across, it gets quite difficult, so I don't know if he starts taking drugs, because it's like, give me Novocaine or something, so I don't know if he just kind of leaves absolutely everything, ditches everything. It's good at first, but then he breaks down, he's alone completely, he's then lost everything, and he can't even get home, so then he kind of goes to drugs or something. But then he comes across Saint Jimmy, which is kind of a person kind of like him, so big, powerful, strong and everything. And then he comes across a girl who she's a rebel, so she goes out there, messes up, goes against society and everything. She's dangerous, and he's kind of attracted to it. And then there's this Saint Jimmy and everything, who's a great leader and everything, kind of fights against everything like he wanted to do and everything, but life just wasn't going anywhere. But as it progresses, I'm not entirely sure how it changes, but he eventually decides to go home. I don't really know what the reason is, if St. Jimmy wasn't really what he wanted. He just kind of saw something that really was not worth it, and the rebel girl who he liked, I don't think they were interested in him. Because there's a song where it kind of is like, they're leaving without me. So I don't think he actually was really accepted. So all these people who were outgoing and rebellious and everything, they actually don't even like this guy. So then I think he kind of figures out, basically, that he should have made peace with what he had. He had a girlfriend who actually really, really cared about him, and he did have friends. And he had a mum who, even though badmouthed him a lot and kind of looked kind of terrible, she just kind of wanted best for him. And it kind of, she didn't handle it perfect, but she was so miffed at basically the life he was having or something like that. So he decides to go home. And just realise he has everything he kind of needs. He's the blooming Jesus of suburbia. He has a cool girlfriend. He has the friends and everything. He just needs to suck it up and accept it and stop being miserable and understand what he has, instead of looking to something which he thinks is amazing, yet turns out it's not really as special as you think it is. Enjoy what you got. And the last song, what's her name? I think is basically he sees this rebel girl again, but he's kind of forgotten what her name is. She doesn't even recognise him in anything. So it's just like, what's the point? If that really is a story, like, there's probably a hell of a lot more to it. Like, there's way more songs than that. There's going to be way more to it than what I've just said. But it's been a long time since I've listened to the album and kind of looked up what the actual album represents story-wise, because there is things online which will tell you what the story is. But yeah, so characters, there are loads of them, so there's a fair few characters in this album, and then it tells a story from song to song to song. Each song sounds completely different and unique. There's some very long songs, as I said, 2 of them are over 9 minutes, and they have chapter times which are kind of like their own songs. But it keeps running through this one overall song. It's really, really amazing for a punk band to do that. And yeah, Billy's voice is incredible, and Billy does do solos. They are very awful, because it's basically just picking things and basically it. But it does add another layer to the song, so you may as well, because even if it's bad, you can't just go, well, it sucks. It's still, again, something that is there. It's something that lengthens it out. It's something that adds diversity. So if you can, which everyone should be able to, you may as well do it, because it'll just give you the extra bonus. Because although it's nothing technically brilliant or anything to really care about, it's basically just a nice interlude to kind of lengthen out something. So after he's kind of done with the overall narrative of a song, it has a nice interlude that kind of ties in with the sound of the song, and then it goes back to the actual chorus. So you may as well, and it's nice. It's fine, and I'm not sure how long the album actually lasts, seeing that there is a few tracks and it's long, but I'm guessing it's actually a pretty lengthy album, which again for punk is very unusual. The sound is very modern and heavy. Like, punk is usually a kind of old school sound, but this is a kind of an American type of sound. So it's kind of American sounding, and it's very well produced and everything. Everything is very crisp. The sounds are quite thick and heavy. Like, they do put a lot of gain and distortion into the song. It's very heavy and aggressive. Some of the sounds that they got, which again is not really punk. But then they have the really melodic songs where they kind of completely strip things down. And there's a few melodic songs where they're all very different to each other. And then there's the heavy songs which are all very different again. There's so many sounds, so many styles, and so many different vibes and lengths and diversity and layers. And it's a punk band. And then from this, they were doing arenas and everything. They did a live album, Bullet in a Bible, which was also a live DVD, where they played in a park, and it was unbelievable show and everything. All the lights, fire and everything. They were dressing up in all sorts of outfits, and Billy Joe kept talking to the crowd, cracking jokes and everything. He was a great frontman and everything. They had saxophone players coming out and things. So that was cool. They made a Broadway musical on the album. So they had the actual Broadway singers come in to actually sing and perform the story of American Idiot. It included some tracks off, I think, 21st Century Breakdown, so the album that came after, as well as previous catalogue, but it was mostly American Idiot, I believe. And they went and told the story. So they went and did that. And then after that, 21st Century Breakdown, they still had some quite lengthy songs. I think there was a song with Chapter Times. And they tried an overall new sound, so the whole sound was different to American Idiot, but each song was still diverse and different, but it had an overall sound to it, which is what metal acts, the good ones, do, like Avenged and Maiden and things. So they're doing metal approaches to stuff, but with what they're capable of doing as a punk band. But they approach it like a metal act. And this is why I think American Idiot did so well. Because every song was so different and so unique. It was different from the crowd of what punk is. And because it was so simple, it was easily accessible to other people. Because there wasn't a lot of guitar stuff going on that you had to then process. There wasn't a lot of great drumming going on that you then had to process. A lot of people, the lyrics are over the head. But because you had long songs that went through so many changes and everything, yet it was all still kind of simple. People took it as, wow, 9-minute song, no other band's done this. It's the punk era, they don't know any better. But even though they're done and everything, at least it opened them to the idea so they can then progress to further stuff, like metal. Probably a lot different, but you never know, some may have actually done that. To see what you can do with music. You can tell a story if they got it. You can have a wide variety of sounds. And then going through the catalogue and everything, you have seen that they have actually changed their sound from album to album to album. And they can have long songs and change throughout the songs and have layers. And then have some sort of a solo at least. It showed the world what could be. Green Day kind of fell flat after the 21st Century Breakdown, like they did 3 albums all at once, because they had so many songs and they said they were all great. Clearly it wasn't. They had some that were... and then they had others that just shouldn't have happened. They didn't put all that work into it. They just thought they were good enough, and then 3 albums did very bad, very bad. The album after it, Revolution Radio or something like that, apparently is a return back to form, but I've kind of given up, and it's still not my style. Like, I always look for that American Idiot thing, but with great guitars and musicianship on top of that as well. So a lot going on. But why I'm basically talking about this album and Green Day in general is because you have bands like Bullet for My Valentine, who started like this with Poison and Scream, Aim and Fire, and now with Gravity, Temper Temper, Venom, their songs are not very long. Green Day are producing longer songs than Bullet. Green Day are putting way more diversity into their songs than Bullet. That is therefore better musicianship and talent than Bullet. And Bullet have stripped it so far back that all they're doing is playing what Green Day kind of does. Chords. And no solos. Gravity, there is no solo. Billy Joe actually does a solo, so by that aspect, Billy Joe is now a better guitarist than Bullet for My Valentine. Because if you just take American Idiot, and then you take Gravity, and you basically wipe your mind of anything else by Bullet, then all you know is Bullet don't do any solos. Billy Joe does solos. Billy Joe is better than Bullet. They both play exactly the same stuff, very simple. But Bullet, American Idiot, is heavier than Gravity. It is. It's a quite heavy album. And they have a concept, they tell a story. Gravity does not do that. So musically they're not capable of doing that. American Idiot has very long songs, not all of them, but they do have the long songs with chapter times where it keeps changing completely. The lyrical overall narrative, the sound of everything. Bullet don't do that. They're not capable. Yet Bullet is a metal act, and this is what metal should be. And if also punk is supposed to just be about politics and everything, and it's never really had to be about singing and the talent, but because American Idiot did this, it shows that a punk band can be more than that. To say, oh, I just wanted it to be about politics, but then losing the very long songs, all that diversity, do you really want to lose that? Just to basically hear about, I hate the Queen can suck my dick, something like that. It's just, that's all you want. Just go to a rally of protesters or something. Read some poetry where they just bash government or something. There's no point of the music then. You may as well have musical kind of interludes, which are actual solos, but it's an interlude. And have diversity and songs changing. And because the album had all of this, it was extremely heavy to get into and let your anger out on. It was extremely melodic in areas and dark and depressing to kind of get sad about and emotional. It had interludes to musically just, give your brain kind of massage in between everything that's kind of happening. It's just kind of, it's a bit of a relaxation and a musical journey until it gets back into the narrative. And then you have all the diversity and all the changes and everything to all have the fun in and have fun with. So you may as well. It is what punk should be, and it's a sign of what could be. Because no band below metal has ever done anything this grand. Green Day is, I think, the only ones. And if Green Day can do that, and Indie basically do the same, then what's to stop Blink-182 doing this? What's to stop 30 Seconds to Mars doing this? And what's to stop Bullet for My Bloody Valentine from doing this? Nothing. Because they're all just as capable as Green Day. They are all musically as gifted as Green Day. So why can't they do it? I think Green Day spent a long time doing American Idiot in order to get what they got. But that's the point. It's your job. You are musicians. You're supposed to be coming up with something unique and special. You're supposed to enjoy playing your instruments. You're supposed to enjoy singing. You're supposed to enjoy doing lyrics and changing the world and putting something out there which you'll be remembered for and will go down in history. Green Day went into that mind frame before American Idiot, and then they gave us American Idiot, and they basically got that. They will be down in history as legends purely pretty much for that one album, not even a catalogue. They are well known for all their other stuff, but American Idiot, that's all they had to do. And as I say, every other band should do the exact same thing. It's a punk band, for crying out loud. It's heavy, very heavy. The sound is modern. It tells a story from start to finish. It has characters that they have to think up and give personalities. There's structures to the songs. There's diversity through the songs, the song chapters. There's a lot of length because they can actually change the sound. They can think up of how to change the sound, where to go with it, how to keep it flowing naturally. Because that's another thing with bands that aren't good at it, where they just kind of go, oh, we'll do a long track, but they don't really know how to go from one part to another. So it kind of feels not really cohesive. It doesn't flow well. It's kind of like a speed bump. It goes and it's just like a hiccup, and it's like, okay, it's just randomly something else. You need to naturally have it work and tie together and fit. And for being 9 minutes, you have to keep it engaging as well. Because that's a long time, 9 minutes. And then there's bands out there. I've seen one band, Redemption, on their last album. So not the new one about to come out, but the one before that. Their last track on that album is 22 minutes. So you really have to keep it interesting. Always has to sound new, always has to be engaging, has to be fun, has to be different, because if it's always going to be the same thing, but 22 minutes, that's basically like, Bullet's Temper track, playing that for 22 minutes on repeat. What's the point? It's just boring. You don't want to listen to a song on repeat for almost half an hour, or even 15 minutes, not even 10. So you have to keep it up. And Green Day managed it. They're not well gifted at their instruments, yet they can change the sounds just using chords, and can keep it interesting just with chords. Just with chords. No slidings, no whammying and anything insane like that. Just chords. So that's it. And they had so many different sounds. So many. So with metal acts, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can do everything Green Day can do. And you have so much more diversity you can do, because musically you have more to offer. With all the shred and slides and bends and whammies, hammer-ons, pull-offs, two-handed tappings, sweep picking, pinched harmonics. Jesus, there's loads. There's more than I've even heard of. There's some that Sinister Gates in his masterclass says, oh, I've just stumbled on this thing I've never even heard of to try out. Sinister Gates, who knows a lot on guitar, is still learning. The masters, gods on guitars, are still learning. Like Steve Vai knows, I wouldn't say everything, but I'm still sure there's something which he's a little rusty about, and he could do better. There is so many sounds and things you can put into songs and throughout songs to give it progression and length. And Green Day did it and kept it engaging just with chords. Metal acts, you shouldn't have a problem. Yet for some reason you do. And I don't know if it's just because mentally you're complete idiots, or if you are aware of it, but you know you don't have to because the audience is there. So why bother? Why think? Why spend that time putting in effort? And you can just do whatever and then go home to your families and not do anything. And you get high rated reviews, you get time with your family, you sell millions, you have a massive increase of fans. Why bother? Is that the case? And we as the fans are to blame? Or is it the bands who just, for some reason, don't know anything? All the metal bands who know all these things on guitars, all these different sounds and uniqueness, yet don't know that they should actually put that into music. Because that really is stupid. If Green Day can do it, any band can do it. And they should. But Green Day has basically been the only one, I think, to have done it in punk. Rock acts have kind of touched on it, but even then, indie acts, definitely not. Pop, seriously no. Green Day did it. And because it didn't have any of the advanced playing, people on radio could play it. Jesus Suburbia, for being very lengthy, was on radio. And it's a bit of an aggressive, intense song as well, lyrically. So it's lyrically, you can do more, yet still be simple and engaging to simple-minded people. A lot of them probably didn't pay attention. I know a lot of people didn't follow the story, didn't know lyrically what it was. It's basically just da 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 da, and that's all they kind of hear. Vocally, they hear nothing. It's just basically da-das, thuds of noise. But if it keeps up, the mentality of people, the mindsets, I just think it would expand. And then people may be just that bit smarter because of the music. Because they will actually be putting effort in to dissect things, like the guitars, like the vocals, styles, the changes. You need to use your brains to figure all this out and figure out what they're doing and why. With bands where they don't do any of this, there's no real thought. Just in pop, the four simple things like I got a girlfriend and I love it. She then left me and I'm depressed. I'm like partying because I have no girlfriend and I want another. And I don't know, booze, sex and things, all very simplistic stuff, and it's all repeat. There's nothing ever different about the meaning of life, how life came to exist, and war and, big subjects like that. Pop doesn't do that. Basically, I kissed a girl, I liked it, baby, 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 repeating the same line over and over and over again, because even that they struggle with their diversity. You don't really need a mind in the slightest to really understand what's going on lyrically and musically, because musically there's nothing even there. It's basically just and that's musically all there actually is. They don't even have guitars in pop anymore. Like old pop, at least I can give them something, but now they've stripped it down even further because it was too much for these pathetic minds. There's no guitars, there's not really actual bass, it's like a computerized bass, and there's no actual drums, it's a computerized drum, if even that. Mostly it's just singing baby, baby, and it's just a clap. So their musical instrument is two pairs of hands doing that, or the computer. Musical instrument of choice, my hands or my computer. Like hands, yeah, musical instruments, you have to use your hands so you can say these are musical instruments, but there's no actual instrument, it's basically just... I could be a famous pop star because I can clap my hands together. So many people apparently can't be pop stars because trying to make them meet in the middle is really hard to do, but I've mastered it, so I can be a pop star. It's very hard to be a pop star. So, I've gone off subject, I went rambling, but yeah, basically Green Day, where punk is all just about the one subject. I hate politics, and Green Day being a punk band where they do also do that, but they delve into other subjects because why not? And they tell a story. If you can, why not? You don't always have to, but then they have long songs with a lot of diversity. Why not? And it did very well. It wasn't a failure. It's the best known in the catalogue. Because it was heavy. It was very well put together. It had great singing. It had guitar melodies in there, so at least it was something new for these minds, and it was simple, so they could actually process it. It wasn't a big leap, which they just can't get into. It's a natural progression for them, and then from there they can go further. It tells a story. Each sound is completely different, so it's all unique. It keeps everything engaging. It's not just the one dun 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 dun, dun and that's it, and there's just nothing else. There's so much there for you, and it's very dumbed down for people to get into. American Idiot, basically, to sum it up, should have been basically a change for the world. It was so big. It went Broadway. It should have sparked indie, punk, and even pop music to follow. It should have shown them what they can do. Yes, we don't know how to really do that much on our instruments. We just know the simple do one lesson of our instruments and okay, we're ready to be in a band. And from that, you can have so many musical sounds, styles, layers and everything. Lyrically tell stories. Just with the simplicity, you can do it, because American Idiot was that. So, American Idiot, a punk album which does it the way metal, the good metal acts do it. Very talented and very gifted. And what metal should be doing today. And as I said, compared with Bullet and Green Day, this American Idiot is way more gifted and talented than what Bullet is now. And a hell of a lot of other metal acts. Stone Sour, for one. He's a good singer. And the sound can be different at times. But they're very short. They do have kind of solos which are better than Green Day's. But I think American Idiot gives Stone Sour a run for their money as well. And that's Stone Sour. A very well-known band, and they're quite popular. Breaking Benjamin, they are extremely bloody repetitive and boring, and people absolutely adore Breaking Benjamin. American Idiot has more talent than them. And Green Day in general has more talent than them, because album to album Green Day change. Breaking Benjamin can't even do that. If punk can do that, a metal act with way more talent can do it, and even better. And then punk bands, who can just do what Green Day can, should therefore be able to do what Green Day can. And heck, I'd like it a lot more. Rock bands, we can do a tiny bit more. Should be able to do it and a bit better. And pop acts can sort of do it. Maybe worse, but they can go further. American Idiot shows what music can be. It was a great achievement, and the world took notice. But they were all idiots and didn't actually figure out what it means. That music could be more. It could be something you work hard at. It could be new, diverse, interesting, layered. But the minds of the world, I guess, have worn out. But everyone should follow in Green Day's footsteps, I think. If people do what American Idiot went out to do, and then put your own thing on top of that, so if you are a great guitar player, go in American Idiot's footsteps, and then put what you know as a musician on top of that, you will not go wrong. No one would go wrong. So, American Idiot. The world should pay attention to that. And the world should have learned and grown and see themselves for what they actually are. Which is, heck, we can do what Green Day does, and we are nothing like that. And you should be ashamed. So, and Metal Act should be absolutely embarrassed that a punk band has come and shown way more skill and talent and musicianship than a metal act. A punk band. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourselves and absolutely embarrassed. And it should have lit a fire under your stupid backsides to do something more. But as I said, I don't know if it's us, the fans and the community, which are so brain dead that we're not telling them to try harder, or if it's the bands who actually know, yeah, we know we can do what Green Day does, we know we can have layers and structure and lengths and sounds and styles and great musicianship, but there's fans there, so why bother? Maybe it's both. Maybe it's just the bands. Maybe we do tell them. Or maybe it's just the fans. And because we have just been given so much bad, simplistic music, all our minds are melted and we've come to basically accept it for what it is and don't know any better. And even though American Idiot got recognition, I think it's a shame. Because that album could have changed the world if people actually opened their eyes to see what that was. A lot of people loved it. The world knew about it. The world really knew about American Idiot, so I know all of them did. But they didn't concentrate. They didn't see what they themselves could have done by looking at what American Idiot was. American Idiot was massive. It was big. It was brilliant, well thought out, in a way, great musicianship, talented, thoughtful, diverse. I love music, but at times I just absolutely hate it. And there's so many times I'm just like, what the hell's the point? What's the point of being a metal fan? because there's so many stupid metal bands out there. They are so thick and so dumb. The fans are so righteous and opinionated, and they are so dumb and wrong. Just being in this musical industry with this music and these fans that don't know anything is like, I see these things, I see American Idiot for what it is, what it should have done to the world. And then there's Avenged Sevenfold and Maiden that have it. And then Green Day for the punk. That is what it should be for that genre. And it should be like that everywhere. For every genre. But it just isn't. And the fans don't know. When people listen to Breaking Benjamin, it's like, God, we hate pop and everything. Breaking Benjamin is so talented. Breaking Benjamin, the sound is always exactly the same. There's no actual real solos. There's no great musicianship at all in there or anything. And structure, there's nothing. There's no layers. So kind of poppy. And then people say, God, it needs to be heavy, it needs to be metal. And then the guy goes, and it's just like, that's metal. Oh my God. I care about metal. I love talking about it. I love music. I just feel like there's nothing there. I feel like I'm basically the last of my kind. I'm into this, and I have these thoughts and opinions. But the world just does not seem to think it. So it kind of is like I'm wrong. Am I? Should music be simple? Should American Idiot, should Jesus Suburbia only have been 2 minutes or 3 minutes? Should each song have sounded exactly the same as each other? Should it not have told a story and just basically been about sex, girlfriends, heartache? That's about it. Would that have made American Idiot better? I don't think so. And I'm amazed the world does not see that. And now I've said it, the world will go, we agree. Yet nothing will change. Which to an extent is stupid. And absolutely silly. And then people are defending Buckman Valentine for being genius, for being so different. Yet American Idiot is so much more talented and heavier. And that's a punk band going against a metal band. Yet when I explain that to them, they can't disagree because that is fact. Yet they'll still defend it. And still say it's amazingly talented and gifted. I don't get what's wrong with people's minds. When it is so obvious, people just don't even see it. And even when they do see it, they deny it. Bands need to be more like Maiden, more like Avenged Sevenfold, and heck, even like Green Day. And every genre can do it. A lot of people think metal is the only one who can do it, because they have all that talent, all the gifts and everything, to lengthen a song out, because there's a lot there. They can put in a lot because of their great musicianships, but apparently not, because as I said, Green Day, they had lengthy songs, multiple sounds, album to album it's different, and through like this album, all the songs are vastly different to each other. And they just play chords. So what are the rest of your guys' excuses? So, what I'm going to basically end on is just If there's a band that you really, really like, but you know they can do more, make it known. It doesn't make you a hater. It doesn't make you a bad person and rude. It makes you a fan and a good person because you're trying to help them and you are trying to better them. But from Valentine's Gravity, if you keep basically saying it's great and it's epic, that's all they're going to be. If people could turn around and say, no, there's no solos, I know you can do solos, and not just shred, you can put thought into them. Matt can do solos, you stopped, you can do it. And you keep saying, Matt, do your solos, you can do them, you can do great solos. And the other guy, you can do great solos and everything, in every song. And you can have a lot of structure, and your songs can be lengthy, and you can keep changing the sound, song by song by song. Then they're going to hear it. And then they'll see it. And then they'll go and do it. If you don't say anything, they're not going to. So you're just making them, you're helping them be better. It's not hating. It's not being a bully. You are helping. If Avenged Sevenfold do something bad, they're told. Like Hail to the King, a lot of people went and told them, you are better than this. Yeah, it's classics. Yeah, you did it very well. And there's very good playing. But all it is a copy of old classics that have already been. And that's not Avenged Sevenfold. And then they came out with a stage. Something very unique. Something very different and diverse. It was like the most progressive album they've ever done. And there was sheer talent throughout that whole album. Touching on subjects that aren't really in music, which is basically about androids, AI, life, how we got here. That's pretty big and deep to be in lyrics. But I want it, because it's so different and new. And it's something my mind can take a long time to get into and process, so I can listen to it a lot, and there's always something new there. So you need to tell them. So don't just accept it for what it is. Don't go into denial. Tell them, because then they will then change. Going into denial and putting your head in the ground, they're not going to change. They'll stay the same. Like with Temper Temper, we told them heavier, and Venom, they just turned the gain up. So they're basically dicks about it, but you got a bit of a change. Now you gave them even more of a kick up the complete backside, basically saying, yeah, this is better, but you still need more structure and a unique sound, and lengthen it out and do more solos and everything, including Matt. If everyone badgered on at them about that, they're going to do that. So that's what you should be doing. You can't say they may not be able to know or think of anything. They should be able to. They're better musicians than Green Day. So they should be able to come up with way more than what Green Day can do. And Green Day had a whole album of unique sounds and very long songs. Just using chords. Bullet can do chords, power chords, bends and everything. They can do so much. Criticise your band. Criticise the band you like. Ask for more. Green Day did it in their punk. Every genre can do it. Even your punk and indie genre. Ask for more. Have an indie artist do long songs with chapters that tells a story. About how a nerdy guy or something hasn't been laid or something. And him and his mates go on a journey to try and get sex, and then at the end of it, they get what they want, or it kind of falls flat, and there's going to be a part 2. That's indie, and that'll be a nice, real fun kind of teen comedy song. It'd be like American Pie in music. That would be awesome. They can do it. Green Day did it, they can do it. Wouldn't that be awesome? I think it would be. But heck, what the hell do I know? I'm an idiot. clearly knows nothing. So, yeah, that's me. Thanks for watching. If you like, leave a like. If you dislike, then please tell me in the comments, so then I actually know what it is you don't like, instead of just leaving a dislike and going away, because then I'm just not going to have a clue what I did. So leave a comment if that's the case, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I do reviews. If you go on my channel, you can see I have a few albums that I've reviewed, and I'll keep on top of it. I don't know if this type of thing, which I've just done, is something people will be interested in. But if not, this will be it. And if so, then I may cover other subjects which I'm touchy on and think I need to voice my opinion about. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.